Dear David, dear Thomas, Vice President Suica, President Cox, Speaker Shafari, Deputy Speaker, connected online, Kornienko, laureates of the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought, distinguished guests, colleagues and participants. First of all, thank you for inviting me to be here with you. It is my pleasure to be marking the 10-year anniversary of the Democracy Support and Election Coordination Group, and knowing that it coincides with the 70-year anniversary of the European Parliament is even greater cause for celebration. Over the past 70 years, we have built a European legislative house that stands by its citizens. As the only directly elected European Union institution, our decision-making follows democratic rules that are designed to serve the European common good. And in this process, we have understood that our duty to strengthen democracy at home goes hand in hand with our support for democracy worldwide. And over the years, some people have sought to question this belief. However, our answer has always been a simple yet strong one, because if we do not, we risk that democracy ceases to exist. And that is not an option for us. We firmly believe that democratic values are universal and are the basis for free, fair and peaceful societies. And this is why we work tirelessly to empower human rights defenders, why we stand with the protesters, the women and men in Iran who fight for life and liberty, why we stand with Ukraine in its fight for democracy and self-determination, why we stand with opposition leaders in Belarus imprisoned for their political democratic beliefs, why we facilitate dialogue with partner parliaments, helping them overcome infighting too, why we observe elections all over the world to ensure that they follow the international standards, the same standards that their citizens expect, and also why we help parliaments become better legislators for their citizens, and why we stand ready to work with others to help counter authoritarianism, because we know, especially this year, that parliaments are the backbone, as we've seen, of democracies and often the first targets of autocratic regimes. This is precisely what the European Parliament's Democracy Support and Election Coordination Group is all about. We have been observing elections for over 3 decades. The European Parliament has been awarding the Sakharov Prize for just as long. We also have a long history of sharing knowledge with our counterparts from all over the globe, not just on a political level, but on an administrative level too. 10 years ago, all these activities came together under the comprehensive democracy support approach, in which we linked all these activities to the electoral cycle and increased the focus on a number of priority countries where the European Parliament can truly make an impact. Whether that was in the field of human rights actions, like with the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought, election observation, electoral dialogue, parliament mediation, empowerment with the Simone Veil programme, or capacity building initiatives like the Young Political Leaders programme. I am proud of the work and, more importantly, the difference that the Democracy Support and Election Coordination Group has made along the years. And so you don't have to take my word for it. Let me outline some of this group's most notable achievements. First of all, with regards to Ukraine, the European Parliament's support has been unwavering even prior to February of this year. This, I believe, is what allowed us to build not just a repertoire of trust, but also of friendship between the European Parliament and the Verkhovna Rada. I would also like to believe that that is what gave the Rada the confidence to turn to this House for support at the start of the war. One particular initiative that comes to mind is the European Parliament's needs assessment mission to Ukraine after the 2015 Maidan revolution led by former President Pat Cox. And this is because it had led to a series of recommendations to strengthen the Rada which not only remain valid to this day, but also constitute the basis of ongoing reform in the Rada. Secondly, the Jean Monnet dialogue that was established with the Parliament of the Republic of North Macedonia in 2018 has also been consequential. It helped North Macedonia overcome deep political crisis and continues to be an important element of the European Union's overall engagement in support of the country's membership process. Finally, let me recall the case of Leyla Yunus, the Azeri human rights activist who was unjustly imprisoned in 2014. In this particular case, it was then AFET chair Elmar Brok who took the lead in mediating with the Azeri Minister of Foreign Affairs, and his diligent work ultimately led to Leyla Yunus's release and transfer to Europe. Of course, these were just 3 highlights in a list of long achievements. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the extent of influence and support of the Democracy Support and Election Coordination Group has been so far-reaching that it is almost unquantifiable. But yet, this does not mean that our work is done. On the contrary, Putin's illegal, unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine has been a stark reminder that more work still lies ahead, because there are still people in the world that believe in indefinite and absolute power, in undermining the political will of the people, in keeping women subdued, and in weakening the already weak. They spread false narratives and misinformation that fuels, in turn, citizens' frustration and erodes democratic values. Dear colleagues and friends, defending democracy takes courage. And the Ukrainian people know this, and we know this too. Only the valor and determination of those who chose democracy made it possible for the European Union to emerge from war, destruction and tyranny. Their legacy was recognized in 2012 when the European Union was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for advancing peace, reconciliation, democracy and human rights in Europe. Our efforts are not in vain. This year, the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought will also be awarded to the brave people of Ukraine. And this will serve as a reminder of our everlasting support in their fight for our shared freedom, democracy and values. Going forward, we will continue to uphold the values of democracy and human rights all around the world. We will continue to support our Ukrainian friends in their fight to determine their own future by upholding our common values with every ounce of our energy. Will we be able to ensure peace, stability and prosperity in Europe and beyond. So make no mistake, the Democracy Support and Election Coordination Group will continue to have a crucial role to play here, and I'm convinced that under our co-chairs, my colleagues David McAllister and Thomas Tobert, it most definitely will be. Thank you.